This conference will now be recorded.
And cities and villages.
Public notice of the annual town meeting for the town of Cottage Grove. It's Tuesday, April 19th. I'll call the meeting to order, and will you please stand for the flag pledge?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please make sure you sign in. And for your information, Wisconsin statute 60.14 states that the only persons qualified under state law to vote for state legislatures, the president, etc., may vote at a town meeting. The person must be 18 or more years old and have resided in the town at least 28 consecutive days prior to the meeting. So we have the minutes of last year's annual meeting, which was April 20th.
I'll move approval of the minutes as presented.
Motion by Christy Williams. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mike Duplay to approve the minutes as presented. Is there any discussion on the minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carried. Additions to the agenda by the electors. Richard, did you have something?
Yes, please.
What did you want to add to the agenda?
So I'd like to speak during this meeting about the township.
Where does that fall?
That would fall,
Input from the electorate.
right, you can do it now. I would just suggest you do it all as one public appearance section.
Okay. Okay.
Later.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyone additions?
Discussion of UTVs on the town roads. Mike Anderson. Yep.
UTVs on town road.
Yep.
Okay. Any other items that you want to add to the agenda? Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'd like to see about getting my property back at the corner of Nora Road and Up Road.
Getting your property back?
Yeah, the Y intersection that was taken out.
Is that,
That's not within the purview of the. I mean, it's really not, it's not a subject for the annual meeting. The gentleman can certainly, if you're asserting that your land was wrongfully taken, you can certainly file a claim with the town. But the annual meeting wouldn't have any authority to convey land to you, if that makes sense.
Well, you're not conveying land, you're issuing an abandonment or right of way.
Yeah, I still, that's within the purview of the town board. There's no provision, at least in the state statutes, for an annual meeting to consider something like that. You can certainly appear before the town board and obviously make your position known, but there's really no provision in state law for the annual meeting to deal with this.
so May 2nd would be the time to come to the town board at 7 o'clock to bring that up. Any other additions to the agenda? Hearing none, we'll move on to the presentation of the 2021 annual town financial statements. And our auditor is here, and he has a presentation to present.
Okay. Well, hi, everyone. My name is Jeff Oswald with Johnson Block and Company, and we conducted the financial audit for the town again this year. And then so tonight I'm here just to do a sort of financial overview presentation of the 2021 financial statements. So we do have copies. There were copies printed off, or obviously I'm conveying it on screen here too. But before we get into the actual financial statements themselves, it's probably a little small on the screen, but I just wanted to briefly go through sort of the content of our audit report. Basically, when you would page through our report, what you would see. So first off would be our independent auditor's report, or our opinion letter. We did provide an unmodified opinion again this year, essentially noting that the town's financial statements are being fairly presented and that they are in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. Next come the financial statements. So there's two different types: the government-wide financial statements and the fund financial statements. After the financial statements come the footnote disclosures, and those are required to accompany the financial statements. And then lastly, at the back of the audit report, there are a few supplemental schedules as well. To go along with the audit, we are also engaged to review the town's annual Form CT, so the town's annual municipal financial report. And that is a requirement that is due to the Wisconsin DOR. So the town actually completes that themselves. So once that is drafted, we'll review that. And I know that's due here in May, so May 15th. So that'll be prepared and submitted soon. And then at the end of the audit, we are required to provide a couple of standard communication letters to the board, which we have submitted to them. So now getting into the actual financial statements themselves, this first page here is essentially a summarized balance sheet of the town's general fund. So starting off at the top there are the town's assets. As you can see, the majority of the town's assets are cash, basically, along with taxes receivable, and then an accumulation of other assets as well. Next, you have the town has their liabilities and deferred inflows of resources. And then lastly, the town's fund balance. So that's the net amount, assets less liabilities and deferred inflows is the town's fund balance. And so at the bottom of the page here, you'll note that we do split out the town's fund balance by the 5 different fund balance classifications: non-spendable, restricted, committed, assigned, and unassigned. As you can see, the majority of the town's fund balance is made up of unassigned fund balance here. And we have a sentence there at the bottom of the page noting that the unassigned fund balance is 20% of 2022 budgeted expenditures. And so the town's policy is actually to have that percentage to be anywhere from 20 to 25%. So the town is within that policy, within that range. And what that is sort of stating is basically if there are any unforeseen expenditures or losses in funding for whatever reason, that the town has a good reserve in place to help mitigate those losses or to help mitigate those increased expenditures. So overall, the town does have a good reserve in place since they are within their 20 to 25% ratio there for unassigned fund balance. Page 2, top of page 2, we have a summarized income statement, or it's essentially a summarized budget to actual statement. You'll note that for the 2021 budget column, they were estimating budgeting a use of fund balance. So the revenues coming in were going to be less than the expenditures going out during the year of about $137,000. Where in actuality, actual revenues were greater than expenditures by about $80,000. So fund balance increased about $80,000 in 2021. And when you compare the revenue line item, budgeted revenues to actual revenues, exceeded the estimated or budgeted revenues in 2021. And budgeted or actual expenditures were less than what were budgeted for as well. And then we also have a comparison of the town's general obligation debt. So here a little higher here. Here we are comparing the overall outstanding general obligation debt at year end. We're comparing that to the town's overall debt capacity. So essentially the total general obligation debt that the town could have outstanding in 2021, theoretically. So as you can see, the town is well within its debt capacity, only using just over 2% of that total debt limit. And we have a graph actually on the last page that we go a little bit more in depth on that as well. Next page here, we have a 5-year analysis of the town's general fund expenditures. I won't necessarily get too in depth on the historical data, but the one item I do want to point out is, I'm sure you can all tell, there was that large spike in this blue line here, and that's capital outlay expenditures. So that was in 2019, and that had to do with the North Star Road project, which was a pretty significant expenditure during 2019. But as you can see, it has been decreasing in 2020 and 2021. And then specifically with regards to 2021 and 2020, comparing those numbers with the different expense classifications, there really wasn't a ton of large fluctuations. They're pretty consistent between years in between 2021 and 2020. The largest fluctuation you'll see again is in capital outlay, where in 2020 the expense there was mostly related to a couple of larger truck purchases. And then in 2021, there weren't those type of purchases made capital outlay wise. So just wanted to point that out on the expenditure side. Next page here, we have a pie chart analysis, just sort of another representation of the 2021 and 2022 general fund expenditures, just sort of showing each piece of the pie of the different expenditure classifications. You probably can't even tell it on screen, but we have percentages there as well. Noting, you'll see that public works is the largest expenditure of the town, followed by public safety and general government type expenditures. You'll note capital outlay was a larger piece of the pie in 2020 compared to 2021. But again, like I just mentioned, that was mostly due to some truck purchases. And so with, obviously the percentages of each different expense classification can fluctuate in any given year. But overall, the percentage changes were anywhere from 2 to 4%, depending on which one you looked at. The next page, we have another 5-year trend analysis now of the general fund revenues. As you can tell, unlike expenditures, revenues are fairly consistent in all the different revenue classifications. The blue line here, this is tax revenue of the town. So obviously that is the largest revenue source of the town there. The second largest is this red line here, which is intergovernmental revenues. So that's revenues that the town receives from the state, county, things like that. But again, fairly consistent the past 5 years. And really when you look at 2021 and 2020, again, not a ton of large fluctuations between there. So again, pretty consistent there on the revenue side. Next page, another pie chart analysis here, just of the general fund's revenues. And then again, taxes is the main source there. In 2021, it was just over 60% of the total revenues, where in 2020 it was 59.7%. So really not a large fluctuation there. Again, second largest was intergovernmental revenues at 15.5, where in 2020 it was 16.3. So again, not a lot of changes percentage-wise there between the different revenue classifications between years. And then lastly, one final 5-year analysis here now of the comparison of the general obligation debt outstanding to the town's overall debt capacity, the town's debt limit. So the blue line there is the town's debt limit, and the red line is the outstanding debt at the end of each year there. So as you can see, the town is well within its debt capacity, with debt capacity going up in the past 5 years, and there was a little increase in the total outstanding debt in 2019, but again, that was due to the North Star Road project. So there was a borrowing there. Increased again a little bit in 2020. There was a borrowing for one of the new trucks that I mentioned. But then in 2021, the outstanding debt was decreasing. There was no new debt in 2021. And so it was decreasing just due to the annual debt payments that were made in 2021. So overall, 97.62% available debt capacity at year end, 12/31/21. Then I also wanted to point out here that we do have in the table here, we have the equalized value of the town and showing the growth. So the reason we have that there is because the equalized value is in direct correlation with the general obligation debt limit. So specifically, the debt limit is 5% of the town's equalized value in any given year. So essentially, when the town's equalized value of all town property goes up, so does the town's debt limit. So just wanted to point that out as well. And then that was the last page there of the presentation. Any questions for me with regards to the town's audit or financial statements? Things like that. It is, isn't it?
Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Moving on, Dane County Sheriff's Office update. Only one chart.
Yeah. Basically shows calls for service. It's,
Get his name right.
Jake from State Farm. Oh, you're funny.
This is our newest addition to our police force that we hire from the county. He started mid-month.
Yeah, about 2 weeks ago.
Cool.
I'll be your evening shift, so.
You want to say anything else about yourself? Like how long have you been?
6 years. Before this, I was at the airport. Dane County's contracted to be at the airport. And then before that, I was the Village of Brooklyn contract deputy for a couple months before the person they selected was put into play there. That was right after they dissolved the police department. And then before that, I was in the jail where I started for the county.
Wait, no, you weren't in the jail.
No,
You were-
still 8 hours a day.
What's that last thing?
In the jail.
Josh replaced Brian Buer, who had been with us for ever, and he retired. So
Oh, we didn't get a dog with you.
No.
no,
No, you didn't get a free dog with him.
No, not right.
My name is Jan Tesloff. I'm the captain of field services for the sheriff's office, and I oversee all of our contracts. I oversee all of field services, which includes our patrol division, our detectives, and all of our special teams. And so I'm grateful to be able to come out in public since COVID restrictions have loosened up a little bit, and to be able to get out and meet some people and come out to your town meeting. So the data that we have provided for you is very limited this year. I apologize for that. Our crime analyst has taken some unexpected last minute leave and wasn't able to get some data together, but I can explain what you have, I believe, and answer some questions about the contract or about our data, and Jake has some things to add to that as well. So the data that you have here is for all of the calls for service in the town of Cottage Grove. It's very hard, like I can't read that from here because it's very small.
A big page, but
Yeah,
you might want to just like, do you have it in front of you?
I do.
Maybe
So-
just tell them what the tallest lines are.
Yeah, so I'll give you a little bit of an overview. So last year we had 2,975 total calls for service in the town of Cottage Grove. About 50% of those were handled by the contract deputies and the rest of them were handled by our beat deputies. Traffic team does some traffic enforcement out in the township, and we also have some grant work that we do out in the township as well. So the highest number on that chart is traffic, and those are all the traffic related incidents, not including accidents. About 498 of those citation or traffic stops were done by contract deputies, and the rest of them were done by beat deputies or traffic team that frequent the town of Cottage Grove. So not only do you have the 3 contract deputies that you have, but you have regular beat deputies that are in your area. And also, like I said, traffic team comes out in this area as well. So you have pretty good coverage out here. Overall, your crime statistics are very low for the township. There were, I think, 3 residential burglaries last year, 2 vehicle thefts, and a bunch of thefts from vehicles with unlocked vehicles and people breaking in. And that seems to be our trend throughout the county. Stolen vehicles, as you know, were on the rise in the last couple of years. And so we've been putting out reminders to the public to lock your vehicles, make sure they're locked even when you're in your driveway, because people use your garage door opener then to enter your house, and trying to remind people to lock things up. And we've had an ad campaign and some information about the 9 p.m. routine, if you've heard about that, and just a reminder for people to walk around your home, make sure your doors and windows are locked, make sure your car is locked before you go to bed at night, because that's when the thieves seem to be active. And they are active out in the townships, they are active in the rural areas. And so where we used to think that living in the rural areas, we could leave our doors unlocked, it's probably not a good idea to do that, or even to leave your garage door open if you're not within eyesight, because we have some pretty brazen thieves out in the county and the city as well. But overall, I would say the crime within the town of Cottage Grove is relatively low. Now, obviously, there was a high profile incident that happened last year with the homicide that happened in the village of Windsor, and we had a crime scene down in the town of Cottage Grove, but the crime didn't actually occur down here. So we did some processing down in that area and kept it fairly quiet as far as like the media and the location and things like that, which I think the residents in that area really appreciated. But overall, it's a pretty nice place to live, from what I can tell. So I live one township over, so it's not very far for me to get here. But I think you have some things to add from your list too, or?
Yeah,
Okay.
my partner has been dealing with a lot of people calling in scams, getting a phone call saying you've got a warrant and you need to transfer money to gift cards, things like that. Sheriff's office is not going to call you until you have a warrant. They're just going to show up. So don't transfer money to gift cards or cryptocurrencies, things like that. Some people have lost a good amount of money to those types of incidents. Just being here in the 2 weeks, it seems traffic is a big focus for us in the area. So I try to be out as much as I can and trying to find new places to hide. I was talking with the captain about when I was in Brooklyn, they were awarded a speed board that tells you how fast you're going. We're trying to put in for one to see if we can get awarded one of those again, to see if we can put that up and move it around. And those will give you every 3 hours. I think the statistics are downloaded so we can actually get them live time. I don't think I have one of those.
Yeah, and the speed boards are very handy if we get traffic complaints, if you have problems in your neighborhood and you think people are speeding. Usually what we do is try to put a speed board out, and that tends to slow people down when they first see it, and deter a lot of the speeding that goes on, but also give us a better idea of what the traffic is really like, rather than just, reports at different times. So we'll be able to get that grant for you.
For those trying to set high speeds, they do shut themselves off so it does not flash at high speed. It'll shut off at a certain amount so you can't see how fast the board will go. So
It's not just kids that do that.
Someone wants to know.
So do you have any questions of us at all?
I just want to say that I appreciate you guys so much. Is that you have done a great job in my neighborhood. which is Sandpiper Trail and Nightingale Way. You know, it is what it is. People are always gonna speed, but I think you guys have done a great job of stopping that.
The credit to those contract deputies, that's for sure. Thank you. Sir,
I see you had a speed board on Gaston Road this last week. Where'd that come from?
That was Southeast Precinct. So it was county speed board, and I believe another deputy just moved that yesterday. It's in Deerfield now.
it's down the road from my house now, and I didn't ask for it. Because now I have to like.
Also, there's ongoing from year to year on, I own a business on Baxter Road. And on both ends of Baxter, somebody's really lighting them up. And on top of the bridge, you see the black marks. This has been going on year to year. I know of somebody that witnessed the vehicle, but that's, from what I understand, it's nobody in the township or the village that's doing that. It's coming out of Madison. And also on Baxter Road, my business, I've got cameras all over that, and I see very little. It used to, when we were getting broken into, we were beating the sheriff's department out there.
Yep.
But during the evening runs, you guys must be patrolling Baxter.
So just before I came here, actually, at the bridge there, there's enough space to slide my car right into the side.
Yeah.
So we get.
That's definitely, because I see the traffic come by there. They're not doing 35 and by any means. And where you guys sit down there is you can't see you. And, but.
You Grafton showed me that one, but yeah.
Right. And
people almost
I
don't
had
believe the speed limit through there.
I had a
so.
good rapport with Deputy French.
Okay.
There was a couple other incidents going on in the county. They were looking for some pointers, somebody firing liquor bottles out on a regular basis in the county or in the township. I don't know if they ever got the person, but yeah, there's a lot of stuff that goes on Baxter Road that I see has no relevance to my business, but there's people in the community that think all the problems in the township and the village come out of my business.
You mean they don't?
Just when you're there.
Wow.
That's
good. Quit speeding out there.
The thing of it is that you're noticed in the township, that response time and what.
Yep. I did notice the fresh tire marks on the road over there.
Right,
So.
right. I mean, that's, you know, it's all connected to the taxpayer repairing roads, you know. I mean, if they're gonna come through there, I know years ago, I saw the guy light him up on top of the bridge, and by the time I got to him, he was gone. But since moved out of the area, but I'm thinking he's coming out because he knows he can get away with it.
So I know Jen has been spending a lot more time down there.
Yeah.
I've been down there, so.
I'll probably talk to you after the meeting. Thanks.
So a few years ago, we had a problem on West Ridge Road. Every morning at 7:30, this person was just burning through. So I invited the deputy to come park in our driveway. And they did. And that problem was solved very quickly. You know, is that still an option that you could use private property if you're invited?
Yes.
And so then that gives you a place to be. We'll just leave it at that. Because a lot of us are seeing consistent issues, same driver, same car. The deputy did tell me that he was doing 75 miles an hour, 45, but he was blowing a joint, so he won't be on the road anymore. Great, problem solved. But thank you for helping solve that.
Traffic complaints are probably the most common that we get from townships as far as that goes. So the deputies are well aware of it and we're working really hard to address them and we'll address them if you contact us. So.
Is the county doing anything for monitoring passing of farm equipment? Because in the last 5 years, it's just getting worse and worse on double yellows.
Well, for me, I'll follow the farm equipment around and I'll follow buses around and see if I can get somebody doing it. So a lot of people, I believe, don't realize that you can't do it anymore because it was legal
for a while, yeah.
a small time and then they changed it back again.
Our traffic team is well aware of it too, but if you're having ongoing issues with that, just let us know and we can make sure somebody's assigned to that area.
They're just getting worse all the time.
All over the place.
Can you clarify that statement about passing farm equipment?
You can't pass farm equipment unless it's a passing, like unless it's a dotted yellow.
Oh, sure, okay.
If it's double yellow, you still can't go around it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it used to be where you could, but that changed. Any other questions at all?
Thank you.
You're very welcome. I'm going to leave. I'm sure Jake will stick around for questions, but if anything comes up, you can give me my contact info if you need to contact me directly as well. All right, thank you very much. Have a great evening.
You can open the speed traps.
I will. Thank you.
Next item is a update on the yard waste disposal for town residents. Since the county stopped taking recyclable leaves and grass clippings, we did last year, middle part of the year, start taking them here. And we have set that up again this year. It's just north of where it had been last year. And you can drop off your leaves, grass clippings, no brush. And then we pay to get rid of that with Purple Cow. So it is available for your disposal. Just bring it here and don't leave your plastic bags. Did I forget anything?
There is a camera. Is that it?
Our cameras. The next item is update on bridge replacement and repair plans. We have two bridges that are going to be replaced this summer. The bridge on Femrite and the bridge on Uphoff. And we have not had the pre-construction meeting yet, but they were scheduled to start in June on both bridges and be done sometime in September. So those roads will be closed while those bridges are out. They're being completely replaced. And update on our comprehensive plan update process. The Plan Commission is just finishing up with that, and we expect to have the final for public hearing sometime in May. June. Any questions? Yes, sir.
In regards to the development plan, is this a time for any input into that or?
No, you really need to come to the Plan Commission for that. And they meet on the fourth Wednesdays of the month.
Because I was noticing in this Towns Association flyer here, there's a portion where it says powers of town meeting may delegate to the town board. And it talks about authorize the town board to engage in watershed protection.
Yes.
So is watershed protection something that would be brought up at this time?
You could, yes.
Okay, and that's, I guess, what I would like to talk about.
Okay.
I own a farm out on Cottage Grove Road, 1585 Cottage Grove Road, right out on the township line with Deerfield. The Koshkonong Creek flows through a 40-acre parcel on my farm. I've lived there since I was 4 years old, so that's been past almost 60 years on and off, except for some military time. In those 60 years, I've watched the city of Sun Prairie grow by about 10 times the population they had in the 1960 census. I had a chance to review a DNR report that came out 2 years ago, and it's called the Koshkonong Targeted Watershed Assessment. And if you read through that assessment, it manages, it makes a couple of points. One is that 800% increase in treated water coming out of the Sun Prairie treatment plant. The other is that since there's 10 times the kind of population, that means there's probably 10 times as much streets, 10 times as much roofs, 10 times as many driveways, 10 times more surface to run off through their stormwater system into the Koshkonong Creek, which begins at Sun Prairie. The creek runs down through this area. The report points out that there's 16 to 18 inches of sludge in the creek, which some of it is runoff from farm fields, but the majority of it, the DNR is saying, came from the Sun Prairie treatment plant. So the creek is filling up with sludge, and a significant amount of more water is coming down from that northern area. Cottage Grove itself has grown 10 times the population of the 60 census, and it's on a much faster growth scale right now on the north end of town. This whole question of the Amazon development up there on the north end of town, and I don't know how many millions of square feet of roof and parking lot and roadways, which are all going to empty into that watershed also. One of the recommendations made in this report by the DNR 2 years ago is that the county and the drainage boards work together to increase the flow in the Koshkonong. So when I found that out, I started making some phone calls to find out what's going on. And I contacted Jeremy Beluzek at Dane County Water Resources Engineering. And he listened to me and said that I had legitimate concerns. And he referred me to Amy Piaget of Dane County Land and Water Resources. After listening to, basically what I've told you, she basically told me the only option I have is to sue the city of Sun Prairie. But she sent me on to Leonard Massey, who is the Dane County Drainage Board president. And Leonard called me back after a couple weeks and told me, well, really, there's nothing I can do for you because there is no drainage board in your area. Sorry. So north of our area, there is a drainage board, and they've recently got sludge suckers or whatever you want to call it, and they basically cleaned everything out right down to the township line. Leonard, he said, well, maybe you should talk to John Reamer of Dane County Land Water Resources, and he's a stormwater engineer. And what he told me was, you can't regulate how much stormwater comes out of Sun Prairie or how much treated water they put into the creek. So I see drainage as not just an issue for me as the property owner. I see drainage as an issue for anyone in the watershed. And nobody anywhere, none of these people, and they all admit, There's nothing planned at the county level to increase flow. And there's nothing in the future that they're planning to increase flow. And I keep getting flooded out. It rains in Sun Prairie, it doesn't rain where I'm at, and I get flooded out. And something's got to be done because drainage is an issue for everyone in the watershed, not just the landowners.
Well, I can tell you what the town is doing with that. The town of Deerfield, the town of Cottage Grove, the city of Sun Prairie, and the Friends of Ashkenon Creek, the 4 entities, we have engaged the University of Wisconsin to make recommendations to us as to what we can do to improve the flow and to improve the cooling of that water so it's not so warm, so it becomes more habitable for fish, and what we need to do, can do with the stream banks. We're working with the UW to come up with a solution.
And so how far off is that?
A year, is it?
Well, they're gonna start next semester in this fall, but you want me to speak to some of this?
Go ahead.
Okay.
Dave Mule, he's the president of Friends of Ashkenon.
Ashkenon Creek, great. And we will have a website soon. So I want to thank Gene. This is not planned at all, but I want to thank Gene for a lot of the work that he's done in the past. In the township, if you want to see the definition of a clean creek, Gene's picture would be on that thing. So he's done an unbelievably well-maintained job of his portion of the creek, but nothing else has happened anywhere else, as you guys may know. I've spoken before on the board, and I laid out kind of a 5-step plan. First thing is what we've been doing since 2017, we being the Friends of Ashkenon Creek, so to speak, which mainly is Randy Zakowski from Deerfield, Troy Eichhoff from Deerfield, and Steve Falter from the Camp City Water Trails. We've been pulling trees out of the creek. We just pulled 2 of them out at Pat Baxter's place last weekend. I've gotten to know a lot about the creek in that time period. So first of all is clear the trees. Second is we have to very soon in the near future dredge a portion of that creek from about Highway 73 upstream to about Baxter Road. So that is, I think, imperative in our mind in the future. And I'll speak to that again in just a little bit. The third thing is to study the creek. When I was in some drainage board meetings, they kept saying, they being even the state engineer for this, you got to study the creek. And I'm going, oh my God, that's going to be hundreds of thousands of dollars to do this. This is just such a waste of money to have engineers tell you, oh, no, there's got to be a more efficient way of doing that. And we have to do it for a long time horizon. I saw in the paper about University Alliance, which is exactly that kind of organization. It's a amalgamation of different disciplines in this university, and they bring it together. And they are set to do through these 3 municipalities and Friends of Ashkenon Creek, which I am helping to underwrite. They're going to do a 50-year study of the needs of that creek. It's going to be for $20,000. A far discounted rate from what we would have to pay if an engineering firm did it. And they're going to have a lot of discipline studying it. The fourth thing then is to get the job done after the study is to then do it. And that's going to be over a time period of who knows what. But it's got to get done. And that's going to be players from up to the county and maybe even more funding sources. It depends on what we can come up with in that study. And then the 5th thing is make sure it doesn't happen again. You got to maintain the bugger because you don't want to have to be doing this in 50 years again after Sun Prairie grows. So actually some praise bringing skin to the game. So backing up to number 2, we got to dredge this thing. That's got to happen sooner than later. You know it. All the other farmers in this place know it. I'm getting impacted greatly. Every farmer I interviewed said that the thing was 18 inches higher than it used to be. Look at what the study said. It just confirmed what everybody else knew. So just ask some of the farmers. We have to get that done. And I've been investigating different ways, as Chris knows, and how to do this thing. There's some ARP money available for that stuff. And the town would be responsible for that. And I just talked to Paul Malley today and some of my ideas on how to get part of it done through the drainage district. And we have to do an engineering study, so to speak, just to know the elevations that we have to get, that we have and want to get to. So I want to see if we can get that done right away, so we can get a small project for dredging this thing. Any questions? Cool.
Dave, you ever talk to MMSD about the bad fish? You know, they've got
Oh, yeah,
aerators.
you told me that a long time ago.
I mean, they've been through the whole process many moons ago with aerators, riffraff on the banks to keep the erosion down and cleaning brush out of it.
So that's kind of, I want to know about if anybody's ever used a small floating dredge and how that's worked. That's the main thing. And I don't think they've ever used that. They have swing room for the excavators to do that. We don't have that right now with all the cottonwoods up in that thing. So does that kind of answer some of your questions, Gene?
Yeah.
Thanks for bringing it up, though. I appreciate it greatly. And there's going to be more on this later in town board meetings. I guarantee you.
Mr. Kurt.
Why isn't the village of Cottage Grove involved in this? Anything east of Highway N, plus the western end of the village of Cottage Grove goes into Koshkonong.
They will be. I've had conversations with John in the past, John Williams, and they know that they're gonna have some
They're
responsibility.
just putting up that monstrosity thing they talk about out there in the west or the north end.
For me personally, the Amazon thing in itself does not scare me about what that's gonna do to the creek. It's all the associated development that's gonna bring after that that really concerns the hell out of me.
That was all them new apartments that are out there
That's what I'm talking about.
are going that way.
Exactly.
And I see here on Beebe on the way in, they're laying a big cement pipe under in the old ditch. Where does it lead? It leads towards the,
Downstream, yeah, downstream. It's
down towards where High Tech is.
Yeah. Things we gotta be careful of paying attention to. Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you. Let's go to the UTV on town roads.
This is the third year that we've come in front of you guys to try to get this approved. Last year, you guys had some concerns about tires, the size of the roads, how busy the roads are. The surrounding townships have opened some prairie, Deerfield, Cambridge, Jefferson opened up their everything. And we're trying to get this passed. You asked me last year when I told you there were several people that have interest in this, and you asked where they were. Well, we got a whole bunch of them here tonight that are interested in the sport. It's a sport that's growing. Everybody's getting involved in it. You can leave from your house. You can go enjoy the outdoors, like I told you last year. You don't have to have a destination necessarily to go, just to get out and enjoy, the outdoors. So I brought Bill Blaschka here tonight. He's from the Quad County Riders. He's got a lot more information if you guys had questions about, laws and stuff like that. He's got brochures that he handed out. We're just trying to get this approved or find out where we have to go and how to get it approved. So, I don't know, Bill, you got anything to?
Unless you got some questions, yeah. It is the fastest growing sport so far in the state of Wisconsin, so it's growing fast and it's happening all over the place. So
I have a couple questions for you.
Sure.
When did town roads become a sporting activity?
is it
Use
any,
of town roads as a sporting activity?
I guess, is it any different than a motorcycle
Or a bicycle.
or a bicycle? Town roads, every county road in Jefferson County is a bicycle route. Every single county road in Jefferson County is a bicycle route. And this sport here is many times safer than a motorcycle. And nobody can argue that.
I mean, you even look at Wisconsin Dells, you can drive right down Main Street in Wisconsin Dells, and that's probably the most busiest place out of any.
The whole state.
My next question is, on any of your owner's manuals for these ATVs, UTVs, are they suggesting in there that they be rode on hard surfaces?
There's a sticker on each machine that says off-road use only. And the only reason that's on there, because the federal government requires it. That's the only reason. The state of Wisconsin passed this. And if that was the case, that wouldn't be happening. Every single town in Jefferson County, except for two, and tonight, there's 2 meetings tonight happening there to finish. In Dodge County, every town, there's 1 left. Columbia County, we got all but 3. In Dane County, we got all the way down in town of Christiana on the eastern side of Dane County. And the western side of Dane County, we've got townships that are open. So it's the safety is not an issue. Not an issue. There's so far in, this is the way it should. There's a saying, with age comes a cage. The guys riding bikes know that. And you know the risk when you get on a motorcycle, talking about now, that you got that chance of sliding your ass on asphalt. With the side-by-side, the UTVs, that ain't gonna happen. In 2019, 2020, and then until 2021, late in the fall, there's never been a casualty on a UTV in the state of Wisconsin. There's a whole state of Wisconsin where that guy was riding on a legal road route and he had his seatbelts on. There's been a few that didn't have their seatbelts on and got thrown out. The same thing can happen in your car. So instead of riding a motorcycle and getting one of these, to be able to go outside and enjoy the fresh air, that's why it's growing fast. $1.1 billion of revenue to the state of Wisconsin. $1.1 billion.
From what?
Revenue from the people spending money writing these things.
Sales tax?
Well, that too. Yeah, sales tax. Registration. Yep. There's 500,000 registered ATV, UTVs in the state of Wisconsin as of now. There's only 200,000 snowmobiles registered in the state of Wisconsin, and they don't get to ride very much. And they say they spend $1 billion. Well, this is, I don't know who's keeping track, but
This is year round. I mean, you can do this.
Exactly, year round. Yeah, they're legal for, there's one town of Milford. The town says, well, you can't ride our roads. They're too narrow. Too narrow. These machines, the maximum width is 65 inches. So what do they call too narrow?
Well, the town board, we hear a lot of complaints about speeding on our roads and passing the school buses and farm equipment on it. Do we need to add another vehicle using those roads that are going to be impacted? What is your speed limit on your UTV?
You just follow the township rules.
What's your road speed limit?
So if it's 55, you're going to be going 55?
Who's going to be going 55? You can, but are they going to be?
I don't know. I'm asking.
What's it on a motorcycle? What's the speed limit on that road?
It's 55.
55. On a motorcycle. Think of that.
For a motorcycle, but
yeah, maybe 35.
UTV go that fast?
A UTV?
Yes.
Well, it can, yeah.
It can, yes.
Absolutely. That's a good thing.
Yeah, they pretty much go as fast as, some of the cars out there,
If the county lets it happen.
Do they always ride with all 4 wheels on the pavement?
By law, you have to.
That's the same with ATVs and UTVs, that's, we're talking about both of them, for the same thing. Yeah, I mean, if it's just like somebody on a motorcycle riding on the road, popping a wheelie, it's illegal. I mean, you can't do it. It's the same with the ATV, UTV, the chance of popping wheelies on them going down the road.
I think he meant about the erosion of the shoulders.
Right, that's why you can't legally, you have to stay on the asphalt.
Right, exactly.
What do you have for trails in the township? Trails?
Just the roads, those.
Well, I'm asking, are there any trails?
That's
Zero, there's no trails.
There's no trails, it's just riding on the county roads. It's only following the speed limit.
That's the whole point. Why are we gonna let you guys right on our town roads.
But we're all taxpayers in this
Right.
township.
Paying for the town roads, yeah. Registration.
And the UTV also has registration, pay the gas tax.
We
Bicycle
pay
is
for
not
these roads
registered,
as
it
well.
doesn't pay, you know what I mean? And we say that they're taxpayers as well, and they get to use the roads. And they can't go 55, they can't keep up with traffic, and most of the time, not all of the time, but a lot of the times they ride 2 or 3 wide.
Oh, yeah, they do.
That's right.
I will just say myself as a business owner, my brother and I own Nora's Tavern out on 12 and 18. I own the Fox Bar and Grill in Marshall with my brother as well. They're legal in Marshall. It is a difference. I'm not going to tell you that at any time you pull into the Fox and there's, 5 or 10 of them there. But there is certain times that you will pull in during lunchtime especially. There will be 1 or 2 of them parked there. They're legal to ride right down Main Street in Marshall. But there is a large rural farm community out here. And, there is a real option of so-and-so's out in a tractor in a field somewhere and somebody can run out there in their UTV and get them and run over to my restaurant and have lunch, take them back out to the field. There is business aspects to this as well. There, you know what I mean? I notice it myself. I don't know if this is true or not, but somebody told me that if you really wanted to, you could get in a UTV in St. Germain, Wisconsin and ride to basically right here legally on a road. So that tells you how many townships, it would take you forever. Don't get me wrong, because you're not riding, interstates, whatever.
Coming down 39.
It tells you exactly how many townships have already approved this. I don't live in the town of Cottage Grove. I just do business here. I'm just telling you as a business owner, especially after what we've gone through the last few years in my industry, any help is appreciated. You know what I mean? It's another avenue.
He had his hand up.
My name is Chad Krantz. I grew up here in Cottage Grove. I live in Columbus. I've been president of the Dodge County Snowmobile Association for the past 10 years. I'll tell you what, 10 years ago, we bucked this big time. The snowmobilers do not want it. They didn't want it because we were worried about them coming on our trails. And I'm sure if there's snowmobilers in the room, you probably have the same questions. We have not, in the last 10 years, had one instance with the sheriff's department of anybody on our trails. They stay on the roads. We've got all of Dodge County except for Leroy is the only township not approved right now. And like Bill said, they're having the meeting tonight. We've had no problem with any issues. I live in the country. Saturday, they had a ride go by. I counted 78 UTVs. And they went through all the businesses of Waterloo. And they gave them business. We've had a very poor snowmobiling situation for several years now. And these businesses, they need something to thrive on. And they're thriving on the UTVs. We've had absolutely no issues with the sheriff's department on anything. They're basically posted to be 35 miles per hour on the road. They've got the signs listed. They are very good about staying where they should be. We don't have anybody going down in fields. You talked about riding the ditches. On a UTV, you don't want to be in the ditch. You want to be on that pavement. We've had absolutely no issues with them, and I think you're missing the boat right now by just ignoring what these UTVers want today. Because you're going to be one of the fewest townships not having approved.
Do all ATVs and UTVs have brake lights?
Yes.
Headlights, brake lights, you can add turn signals to them.
Seat belts.
They all have seat belts.
They don't always have turn signals?
You can add them on. I think the newer ones, yeah, it's an option, yeah. A lot of people
You're either going to have them legally on your roads or they're just going to ride through them illegal. And I think you're better off to have the statute in place that they're legal.
What's legal?
To have them on your township roads.
ATVs, UTVs.
And I think you can go to any farmer and no farmer's ever going to disagree with it.
Mr. Chairman, can you take a question from the
You gotta have a special permit.
online?
There's not mine.
Kevin Shelley is.
Who's on the
Yeah,
line?
Thank you. Kevin Shelley, 1764 US Highway 12 and 18. I am a farmer and I would like to get, well, I'd like to express my opposition to the idea. I would like to get behind this, and I would, except for one reason. I'm concerned about noise. A lot of comments have been made about motorcycles. Instead of allowing ATVs, UTVs on the roads, I'd like to get rid of the motorcycles. Most of them are obnoxious noise nuisances. And that's what I'm worried about with the ATVs. You know, if we have the snowmobile trail go across our farm, and the vast majority of the snowmobiles are fine and responsible, but some of them aren't. They run modified pipes. You know, we have semis that run straight pipes. There's too much noise. And I feel like there's a risk associated with that, with having ATVs and UTVs on the road. I think a lot of good points have been made and in favor of them that I agree with, but you know, at least on that one issue, I'm happy if our town remains, you know, the exception to the trend and continues to not allow these on the road. Thank you.
Stay on the line, we'll answer your question, your comment. The decibel meter on a UTV is 96 by law.
What is it
Max
on a
out.
motorcycle?
What is it?
What is it?
Right. What is it?
There is a lot higher.
I don't know. What is it?
What, well, he's,
My neighbors have a lot louder motorcycle.
well, what, yeah, but
Harley's
the
pretty
fact of the matter is, a UTV is 96. I don't know what a motorcycle is.
Well, my assumption is that it's something like similar to that.
Just,
It's
it's
not
not.
enforced.
The UTVs and ATVs are much quieter than probably 3/4 of the motorcycle.
The newer machines,
I sit in my.
boy,
They're nice,
you don't even know they're running.
Yeah.
Part of that also is it's a motorcycle and they used to have that thing of loud pipe save lives, you know what I mean? Because you want to be heard, you
People
want
think
people to
that
see
that's
you.
necessary.
You don't
Yeah, this
necessarily,
is my point. Thank you.
don't necessarily have that concern.
I'm just curious as to how many roads are you expecting to open for this? I mean, we had examined our roads beforehand, and other than coming up to Landmark and getting gas, there was no option for the town.
Sure there is. We could open up the whole township.
Right.
You may be willing to do that, but I'm not.
You got roads that are bad or that are problem?
I guess my comment, Chris, Gary Stieber, Double Days. Right now, I'm looking at, I went with Bill to the town of Sun Prairie meeting, and same thing, and we answered all their questions, and we educated the board. They went into a session and voted to go with it. So right now, my business on Baxter, they can get as far as the bridge, that's it. All I want is 6/10 of a mile for them to get up to my place for lunch. Help pay my taxes.
Two roads.
I think it's, a lot of this is getting more read into it than you're going to. You're not gonna have 1,000 machines out there, but it gives you an option for another avenue for a businessman to cater to the farmers. And these machines are not cheap. And most of those guys got a fat wallet and they're not worried about buying a hamburger, a cheeseburger and a soda when they come to town. And as far as I've heard the comment too about bar hopping, well, shame on you. You know, we're all adults here.
Who made that comment?
Last year, we voted 3-2 against doing this. And it's my opinion that we should put this on the agenda again for another vote.
Thank you, Mike.
Chris? This is Dave, again, Dave Neal. You guys were mentioning in your opening comments that this was recreational, and I would like you to replace that with it's a business aspect and it's a tourism aspect, more than recreational.
Right.
The bikes are, and I'm totally in favor of the bikes. I have no problem with the two-wheel pedal guys. I know they get wide sometimes. That's recreational. They are in training for a recreational event. You guys are not in training.
What?
Maybe that's, but this is a tourism issue more than anything else, and access to establishments. And I'm a farmer who's deadly in favor of this thing.
And we're a farming community, so if you want to legally take something from here to there, you should be able to legally go onto the roads and deliver it to a neighbor or business or wherever you want to go. It's not the purpose of where you have to go. It's, you can go where you want.
I'd like to add, Bill Blaska, I'd like to add, we got a farmer in the town of New York. He's got, in 2 years' time, 8,200 miles on his machine. Rides it everywhere. It's so handy for him to get in that machine and go wherever he wants in his field rather than in his pickup truck. 8,200 miles
Oh, and one
in
other
2
thing,
years.
I don't think you're gonna hear the motor so much as you will the tire noise if they're going so fast. And a lot of them are not gonna go speed limit, not even close. I'm on an ATV legally on the county road with my registration, but I'm scared to go over 23, 24, 25 miles an hour. You can go faster, but a lot of these things, you're not gonna see that.
Yeah. And not only that, the state doesn't require it, but we recommend it, our club recommends every single town that we have, a separate one, that you put in your ordinance that they have a driver's license. A licensed operator run that machine. You can go down the road in a car, pickup truck, whatever you want. You can run one of these legally.
Did you give them a copy of the ordinance?
I think they,
Oh.
they did. There's,
I have a ATV route guideline and suggestions from the Bureau of Law Enforcement and Community Financial Assistance with the Department of Natural Resources. And a couple things that in reading it quick that I wonder about is they say in here, the more automobiles and ATVs mix, the higher risk to each party, especially when you consider the following. Many of the ATVs in use today are not equipped with brake lights, but you said that's not right.
They all have.
that's really old. I got the same thing. It's many years old, way back 20 years ago, or maybe 30. I don't know. By law, they have to be on the road. Headlights.
What's your
seatbelt.
publication date on that?
Yeah,
Right, that's, I got the same thing, and it's many years old.
been selling them for 20 years.
Or three maybe?
Right.
Oh,
Even,
three? 20 years ago.
well, whatever, it's obsolete. But
It's what they still have on their website.
Oh, yeah, I mean, to sell them, you have to have the brake lights, tail lights.
Yeah.
I'll put it
Headlights.
this way, the only thing my UTV doesn't have compared to a normal car is cruise control.
That's right, that's right. You don't have.
I got power windows, air conditioning.
Yeah, you can add all that stuff.
Yeah,
Got
whatever
a
you
sofa
want.
heat in there, yeah.
It's just how much do you want to spend?
You're getting.
You don't have to even roll them down.
No, I don't.
Anything? Mr. Hurt?
The only thing I want to say is, I don't care about ATVs myself, but there's nothing worse on the road than a bicycle. We drive tractors on the road, and some of them goes 27 miles an hour, and they'll race you. A bicycle will try and race you. And top speed of a bicycle is 23. But I come from Marshall one day, one of the bicycles grabbed onto the back of my wagon.
Oh, boy.
Got a free ride. Didn't have to
And he
pedal.
pulled all the way from Marshall to Ridge Road. It was about 3 miles or better.
That's something I would do.
Should have opened up the spreader.
And a couple of days later, a guy come up to me and he says, "Did you know that fellow was back there? He had himself in that you couldn't see him in the mirrors." And he was hooked on, he grabbed it with his arm, they said, and he hung on all the way.
You seen the 2019, 82 motorcycles were killed in the state of Wisconsin. 53 pedestrians in 2019 were killed. Pedestrians. There was one town, New York, a lady gets up, she says, you can't be using the roads as these things. I use the road to walk my dog. You know, really people, 14 bicycles were killed in 2019
TV at least confessed.
on the road. That hasn't happened.
Complain about walking on the road and the traffic.
But it hasn't, no fatalities on in 3 years on a UTV until that guy hit a deer last fall over here in western Wisconsin, western Dane County. People get killed, they don't have the seatbelts on, but if you do everything according to law, you're good.
Okay,
I will say just one more thing. I think
you said that before.
as we get thinking about this.
Okay.
I heard the question earlier, is there any trails? And current, there probably is no trails. Up north there is. I'm an avid snowmobiler myself as well. I put in snowmobile trails in Sun Prairie, take it out, whatever. I know what that all entails. I think ultimately, maybe there is hope that there could be some of that, which would bring more tourism to the towns. But you have to be able to link the towns somehow first, because snowmobile trails are easy. There's no crops in the field, you know, you can pretty much go wherever you want with permission. Summertime ATV trails would be obviously a lot harder to get through. So there's going to be certain areas where maybe you can have a trail to get off of the road. But there's going to need to be some road access to link maybe the abilities to get, you know what I mean? So I think, you know, there's maybe hope that this is maybe a beginning of bringing more tourism in. I mean, if you look at the Northwoods, Mercer, St. Germain, Eagle River, obviously they're tourist destinations as it is. But this has provided them with a whole nother season. You know what I mean? It's a whole new opportunity. It's taken snowmobile season and basically made it all year round. Will it ever do that down here? No, probably not. I think we all understand that. But there is an opportunity maybe to bring some newer streams to people, to get them to town, whether it's somebody from southern Wisconsin or Illinois, or you know, even somebody from a township where there isn't many trails to get off of a road. I mean, I'll be honest, that it's not the most exciting thing for me to think of riding my UTV just down highways. That's not really what I bought it for in the first place. But I think it's the bigger picture of maybe can it lead to something else? And I mean, the truth is, I think anybody in here would rather tell you, we would love to be on a dirt trail or a gravel trail or something that besides a town road. But there has to be a start somewhere. You know what I mean? You have to kind of get things linked together before you can start venturing away.
Right. You gotta have the access to get.
Correct.
To even think about that.
And I'd just like to add to that. I belong to Jefferson County Half Mile Club. They have guidelines there. They've been at this how many years, Jefferson County? The Half Mile Club, where am I going? But anyhow, what's going to come up, the question's going to come up, Chris, is who's paying for the signs? A lot of this, the clubs pay for the signs. We don't have a club right now, so that's going to be a question that's going to have to be answered also. I don't know how to answer that, but
We have been. We have been paying for the signs, so our club.
But there's not one in this area. One problem that I do have in some of our roads, they're 2 lane, but I only control 1 lane. The other lane is in the village.
That's not that many, Chris.
That's a very small area.
Very few.
But there are.
And easily identifiable.
all I need is 6/10.
They're stretching it so they can leave.
Next be the next. And if you have the village.
Yeah, that's another thing too, if you get the township to pass, maybe we can moving into the village
Moving
and,
into
you
the
know,
village.
you get them, and that's what a lot of people, a lot of places are starting, is they're starting in the township. Then they're moving into the village. I talked to a couple of people in different clubs. I think it's Badger Club down in down by Spring Green or whatever, Mount Horeb. They started in the village and then they moved into the town. I don't know why they did it. A lot of other people.
I really don't think you're gonna find as much cooperation between the village and the
Well,
township. out
There was a
here.
time the village was looking into allowing golf carts. in the
Yes.
village.
Right.
I don't know where that ended up, but it did come up.
I remember that.
Double D's will try by their own signs.
Yeah.
6/10.
6/10 of a mile.
I think Central area.
To get you there.
Sell the village on tourism.
Drive that by narrow line.
Anything else on UTVs and ATVs?
I can add one more thing, possibly. Our club is about 200 members, 7 years, and the average age is 54 years old. We got one member that is 60, he's 79. He's got 4 Gators, 2 of them with air conditioning heat. 4 Gators that he owns. He's fanatic about riding. 79 years old.
Those are their toys.
But most of us, usually the ATVers, most of those guys, what we call, like to run the dirt. I personally don't like it. I don't like the dust, but it don't matter. Most of our clubbers are the UTVers. So the side by side, the roll cage seatbelts.
The age comes with the cost of what they cost.
Age comes with the
The ability to pay.
cage.
Anything else? Any other business?
Chris, I just want to make sure that we notice that the electrical recycling has changed.
Electronic.
Oh, electronics?
Yeah. So that everyone knows that they have to bring them here to dispose of them.
Yeah.
On what date?
Page 43.
Good job.
May 9th through the 16th, it'll be out there. It'll be out at the town garage, out in front of the town garage.
So the only other thing we need to do is set the date for next.
Wait. Can I say something, Chris?
Sorry,
Yeah,
All right.
yeah, his thing.
sorry.
This kind of exchange is what makes our township great. You know, we don't have to sign in and give it 30 seconds to state our case and then out you go. A great exchange back and forth. And all I want to bring up is that this town board have been wonderful stewards of our township. And we need to appreciate them for that, their fiscal responsibility. This book, I've been getting this book for 30 years, and I think in the last 10, you added like 4 pages. You know, you're not here having meetings and trying to figure out how to grow government, get in everybody's face and cause trouble, unlike certain municipalities that border. But this is why we live here. This is why we came here. And this is a commonality we need to share together. The meeting last night, I heard a lot of people say, what about me? It was all, what about me? What about me? You know, I'm in zone B, I'm in zone A. What about me? It was laid out that the neighbors have to work together if they want to avoid annexation into the city of Madison. And this is where, you know, Dave, he's pulling neighbors together. He's pulling resources out. He isn't just throwing his hands up and saying, Chris, your problem, fix my creek, right?
Never get done.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Well put.
We're trying to move forward in a positive way. And we all need to do this. And I just want to thank the board for who they are. And thank goodness we're getting Kim some help with an assistant, because she works her tail off to pull all these loose ends together. So I'm going to say thank you.
We need to set the date of next year's annual town meeting. The recommended date would be April 18th, the 3rd Tuesday again.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Duplays, second by Williams to set the annual town meeting for 23 on April 18th. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. If there's nothing else, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion by Duplays. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Woods. It's non-debatable. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you, one and all. And if you did sign in, please sign in.
Isn't there a burn ban?
You have to call the fire department.
Yeah. How are you?
Sick of these things?